I know a place where dealers roam and they very scary. Try and bust your brain like when I pop the cherry.
Arteise, she loved her kids. She didn't, and loving person. I don't care. She was my first cousin, and she lived on 4th Street, and I felt bad because of this. And I haven't seen her for a year, and she lived right there because I don't go on that side of town. Only reason. She loved her kids, good person, and she died for her kids.
People were outside along West 6th Street on Wilmington's west side. The block had long carried a reputation in the city where shootings and murders had happened often enough that residents knew how quickly an ordinary evening could turn violent. The day had not quite ended. Conversations moved across stoops and sidewalks. Neighbors lingered in the open air, the way people often do when the weather allows and the day is winding down. Among the people on the block was Arteise Brown. She was 25 years old and the mother of 2 young children. Her life, like many young parents in the neighborhood, was built around work, her family, and the daily routines of raising kids who depended on her. The calm of that evening broke in seconds. Gunfire erupted on the block. Witnesses would later describe the sudden shock of it, the sound of shots cutting through a street that moments earlier had been filled with ordinary noise. When the shooting stopped, 2 women had been hit. Arteise Brown was one of them. A 19-year-old woman nearby had also been struck by gunfire. She survived her injuries. Arteise did not.
Breaking news now. Wilmington police have arrested a 25-year-old man identified as Mateo Pinkston for the murder of a mother of 2 last month. Pinkston has been charged with the shooting death of Arteise Brown back on April 28th. She and another woman were both shot as they stood outside on 6th Street when gunfire suddenly rang out. The other woman was injured. Pinkston's bail has been set at $500,000.
People as rushed to help the injured. Among them was Renisha Ellington, who reached Brown and tried desperately to keep her alive while waiting for help to arrive. Ellington later described what those minutes felt like as she knelt beside her friend. "I tried to get her to grab my hand," she said. "I tried to get her to squeeze my hand. I tried to get a response in some type of way by talking to her and putting pressure on the wound. But the response never came." Arteise Brown died from the gunshot wounds she suffered that evening on West 6th Street. The killing stunned the neighborhood. A young mother had been shot in a place where many people had been standing only moments before. Witnesses saw the violence unfold, and police quickly began the difficult work of reconstructing exactly what had happened. Detectives canvassed the block, speaking to residents who had been outside when the shots were fired. They gathered statements and tried to identify who had been present in the moments before the shooting. Before long, investigators focused their attention on a suspect. Police identified Mateo Pinkston, a 25-year-old man from Wilmington. Authorities charged Pinkston with second-degree murder in connection with Arteise Brown's death. Because another person was also wounded during the shooting, prosecutors added a charge of first-degree assault. The number of people placed in danger by the gunfire led to additional counts as well. Pinkston was charged with 4 counts of reckless endangering, reflecting the risk created when shots were fired on a crowded residential block. Prosecutors also charged him with possession of a deadly weapon during the commission of a felony, along with possession of a deadly weapon by a person prohibited. The case appeared to be moving toward trial. In violent crimes like this one, the strength of the prosecution often rests heavily on witnesses. The shooting had happened outdoors, in a place where people were gathered, meaning investigators believed multiple individuals had seen or heard what took place. But as the case developed, the testimony that supported the charges began to shift. One of the key witnesses who had implicated Pinkston later recanted the statement that tied him to the killing. Without that testimony, the foundation of the prosecution's case weakened dramatically. Prosecutors faced the reality that a jury might not hear the same account that investigators had relied upon when charges were first filed. The case began to unravel. Eventually, prosecutors determined they could not move forward with the murder case under those circumstances. The charges connected to Arteise Brown's killing collapsed when the witness withdrew the earlier account. For the family and friends of Brown, the result left a deep and unresolved absence.
You really gotta love your kids that much to die for them. Like without a thought. As soon as you hear something, you just, I'm gonna grab my kids. And then the thought of you actually knowing that you're not gonna make it. People focus on you, but they understand that the kids don't realize how hurt you are. They think their mama got a cut. And that's it. In the long run, that's what a lot of people don't understand. Women in our city are so strong, like they sometimes they get overlooked, and a lot of them make sacrifices for their kids, and that's the biggest sacrifice I ever seen in my life. Our kids is fine, yeah, she's up there, but we'll see her later.
The moment on West 6th Street had taken the life of a young mother, leaving behind 2 children who would grow up without her. Years later, Mateo Pinkston returned to the center of another criminal case in Wilmington. On January 29, 2017, police responded to a robbery reported at 704 North Tatnall Street. A woman told officers that she had just returned from a store near 7th and Washington Streets when a man followed her into the apartment building where she lived. Inside the hallway, the man attacked her. According to her account, he threatened her with a weapon that combined a knife and a corkscrew, then robbed her. During the struggle that followed, the woman managed to grab the attacker's cell phone before he fled. Police arrived and began investigating the robbery. The victim described the man who had assaulted her, telling officers he was light-skinned with facial hair and that he had been wearing red sneakers and a camouflage jacket. One of the officers on the scene, Corporal Stephen Bender, believed he recognized the description. Bender was familiar with many of the people who spent time in the area, and the clothing described by the victim reminded him of someone he knew, Mateo Pinkston. Investigators showed the victim a photographic lineup. She identified Pinkston as the man who had attacked and robbed her. Police also obtained surveillance footage from the nearby store where the victim had been shortly before the robbery. The video showed the woman entering and leaving the store. It also showed Pinkston moving in the same direction after she departed. Later that same day, Corporal Donald Kramer searched the area near 7th and Washington looking for Pinkston to serve an arrest warrant. He spotted him outside the store. When Kramer pulled up in his marked police vehicle and called out to him, Pinkston began walking away. The officer ordered him to stop. Instead, Pinkston ran. Kramer chased him and eventually deployed his taser to bring the pursuit to an end. When police took Pinkston into custody, they found a corkscrew wine opener with a knife on one end, consistent with the weapon described by the robbery victim. They also discovered a cell phone charger that matched the phone the victim had taken during the struggle. Investigators later examined the SIM card in that phone. It contained contact information connected to another person with the last name Pinkston, strengthening the link between the device and the man police had arrested. The case moved quickly through the courts. Pinkston was indicted on February 6, 2017. Jurors heard testimony from the victim, police officers, and investigators who had pieced together the events of that day. On May 17, 2017, the jury returned its verdict. Mateo Pinkston was found guilty of robbery in the first degree, 2 counts of possession of a deadly weapon during the commission of a felony, burglary in the second degree, and resisting arrest. The court then determined that Pinkston qualified as a habitual offender under Delaware law. The sentencing that followed was severe. For the robbery conviction, the court imposed 25 years of level 5 incarceration. Each of the deadly weapon convictions added another 25 years. The burglary conviction brought 8 additional years, and the resisting arrest charge carried a 6-month sentence, suspended for probation. Pinkston appealed the conviction to the Delaware Supreme Court, arguing that the case had moved too quickly and that he had not been given enough time to prepare his defense. The court reviewed the record and rejected that claim. In July 2018, the Delaware Supreme Court affirmed the conviction, concluding that the appeal contained no arguable legal issues that would justify overturning the verdict. The sentence remained in place. By that point, nearly a decade had passed since the night gunfire shattered the calm of West 6th Street. The legal outcome in 2017 closed one chapter of Mateo Pinkston's criminal record, but it did not resolve the earlier killing that had taken place on a crowded block in Wilmington years before. Arteise Brown's death remained part of the city's history in a different way. A young mother of 2 had been shot on a street filled with neighbors. A friend had knelt beside her, pressing her hand against the wound and pleading for a response. The memory of that moment endured long after the legal case that followed had fallen apart.